you doing? It's been a little while since I recorded a video talking about grappling, and specifically my personal journey in grappling. So I thought I'd record one now. The reason for this is that I've hit a bit of a plateau. Now, for various reasons, I've not been doing as much training as I'd like. In all honesty, I never do as much training as I'd like. But I'm probably only managing once a week at the moment. And that's obviously playing a part in slowing down any progress or even stopping it. But I've kind of hit this odd plateau, and I'm struggling to get over it. Effectively, what happens is I find myself playing a really defensive game. And that feels quite wrong to me because, as you know, if you've watched most of my other videos on this subject, my main background when it comes to grappling is catch wrestling. I've trained with Billy Robinson, the late great Billy, Jake Shannon, Sam Cressin, Wade Challis, Marty Jones, Josh Barnett. Some of these people, you know, some of the great names, fantastic coaches. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I'm a fantastic wrestler. I'm not. I was out of shape for an awfully long time, and I'm middle-aged, so I'm never going to set the world on fire. But I'm not bad. I'm pretty competent. I can hold my own. But this thing that happens to me when I'm wrestling now is really starting to bug me. So effectively, what happens, and there are a couple of reasons for this, and we'll go into those in a second, is that when we start, I'm quite proactive. I'm on the offense, and I'm looking for either a dominant clinch position or to hit takedowns, and I usually do pretty well with that. My takedowns aren't bad, and I'm pretty good at utilizing my weight and strength in the clinch. And Billy Robinson taught quite a few nasty tricks or effective tricks. Let's go with effective. Billy Robinson taught a few effective tricks for clinch work, getting in there and using your body to break the other person's posture to give you an advantage. So I'm quite happy in that situation. Now, I suffer a little bit because I've lost a lot of weight. I used to be about 18 stone, which is about 115 kilos. And I'm now down at about 200 pounds, 14 stone 3, about 90, 91 kilos. So I'm a lot lighter than I was. So a lot of the stuff I used to do where I'd use my weight to kind of control people, I can't really do. So I get moved around more in the clinch than I like, but I'm okay with that because I've lost this weight and I'm a little bit more agile and I'm a little bit more powerful. I've been doing quite a lot of plyometric training, which allows me to kind of relax and explode more. So that initial section of the fight, if you like, I'm pretty happy with. I can get in there, I can get to a clinch, I can work to a dominant position, I can get my opponent on the ground, or I can read what they're doing and I can maybe hit a double and take them down. That's great. That bit I'm good with. But it's what comes next. Now, what I'm always trying to do is to hit the takedown in a way that we land with me in a dominant position. And sometimes that happens, and that's great. And when it does, great. If I'm on top, I'm very happy. There's a lot I can do. I've been taught an awful lot by some fantastic wrestlers. Wade Challis, his speciality was mat wrestling. He would take people down specifically to certain positions on the mat and dominate them. His best characteristic, if you like, in wrestling was being able to control people on the mat. That's why he was so successful. That's why he pinned so many people in wrestling. And it's why he managed to win the American National Judo Championships. It's why he came second 2 years in a row in the World Sambo Championships. Things like that. On the mat, there's no one better. And I've learned a lot from Wade. So if I'm on top, great. But what I haven't learned from Wade or from anyone else that I've trained with is really how to get out when I'm underneath. And that's where the problem arises. And I think there are a couple of reasons for this. the first is that there's not a lot of catch wrestling around. You know, in this part of the country, there's pretty much nobody of a high level teaching catch wrestling. I'm the only person around here that's happy to teach it, and I'm not fantastic. But, you know, if somebody wants to learn it and they're a beginner, then I'm perfectly capable of teaching them, and I'm very willing to teach them. I think Billy would be haunting me if I wasn't passing on what he'd passed on. So what I tend to do when I'm wrestling against people who I know are relatively new and struggling to learn techniques, I purposefully hold back a lot, and I try to kind of let them take the initiative. And so I'll defend, and I'll maybe start putting a counter in and show that I've got it, and then let them work around. So I'm holding back a lot when I'm wrestling against new people, and that's kind of become a bit of a habit. Now you'll know if you've watched some of my earlier videos that I struggle very much when I'm on my back or on the bottom position. That's just me. And for a little while, I tried to avoid that a lot because I knew I was crap at it. And then it kind of struck me that was probably the worst thing I could be doing. So I started, even against people who are good, people I know who will dominate me if they get on top and I'm up there, I started letting them get to that position to deliberately get myself in the positions I feel uncomfortable with in order to try and get better at fighting from those positions. And the two together have kind of created this situation where I seem to end up in that position. So I'm either in a referee's position, parterre, high or low defense, turtle, anything around that. That's where I tend to end up. Now we wrestle to the pin as well as to submission. So I'm quite good at making sure I'm off my back. You know, I can get from my back to my front very easily. Yeah, good talking, Oz. But getting from the turtle position, if you like, to a dominant position is something I struggle with a little bit. Now I'm getting better at it. For example, there was a bout I had on Friday night when I was training against a guy who's a good friend of mine. He's a BJJ blue belt. He's been a blue belt for about 3 years now, I think. He's done a couple of the scientific wrestling camps as well. So he's pretty good. He's a handy grappler. Now, we're relatively on a par, but I think probably, if I'm being honest, I've got a bit of an edge over him. I'm a bit fitter, I'm a bit stronger, and I've done more wrestling than him. He's done more jiu-jitsu. So when we start playing to different rule sets, then his advantages come in. But when it comes to wrestling, I usually have the advantage. And what happened is we moved around, we were kind of feeling each other out, you know, moving around, pushing each other about, looking for clinch positions. And I could see that he was stepping in the same way. And when I'd sort of push him away a little bit, he'd step back in the same way. So what I did is I kind of pushed him to create a bit of distance. And the second I saw him start to step, I went in and hit the double. And that was great. It worked really well. Went in there, penetration step down, both legs, ear against the side, popped him over, turned the corner, and he landed on his back. I got the double. And then instead of doing what I should have done and instantly scramble and get to that dominant position, I kind of almost relaxed a little bit and let him win the scramble. And I didn't do it on purpose, but we recorded this bout so I could see what I did wrong. Now, in my defense, he'd just spent several hours doing a session on chokes with Roger Gracie. So the fact that I ended up immediately defending against a series of chokes was probably predictable. And that's cool. I managed it. That's not a problem at all. In general, I'm quite good at defending. But it took me probably the best part of a minute of defending chokes and struggling to try and reverse this situation to suddenly hit that reversal. And I did hit it. It was with a technique that I was shown by Wade Shallow. It's absolutely fine. And once I hit it, I got to a dominant position, got the pin, won. But it's that bit in the middle of the fight that I'm struggling to get rid of. And that seems to be where I end up, regardless of whether the person I'm fighting against is better than me or worse than me. So I'm spending a lot of time now searching out videos and tutorials looking at attacking from the turtle position and using that to, tricks and tips to reverse it. So if you've got any ideas, any hints, any tips, please let me know. Stick something in the comments. I'd really very much appreciate it. There's a guy, Eduardo, I can never remember his surname. If you're a serious grappler, I'm sure you know who I mean. He attacks from the turtle guard a lot, and I found some of his videos. Mostly what he does is gi. So some of the moves and techniques simply aren't going to work. Getting the grips just not going to happen when you're not wearing a gi. But the principles of what he's doing are fantastic, and some of the stuff I've seen from him, I'm going to try and make it work. I'll let you know if it does. But if there's anything out there that you think I should be studying, please let me know. So in summary, the wrestling's going well. I've not done any BJJ for a little while, but hopefully I've got some stuff booked for next week. So I'm going to go get my ass kicked by a friend of mine who's a very good purple belt, and hopefully I'll come away from that learning a little bit more. And we're going to keep going with the wrestling and see how it goes. If you are in the UK, bear in mind that the Scientific Wrestling UK camp's coming up September, beginning of September, and don't miss it. It's fantastic. It's not cheap, but you are getting a lot of dedicated training from some of the best grappling and wrestling coaches in the world. So based on what you get, fantastic value for money. I've done 4 of them now, I think 4. So this will be my 5th, and I wouldn't miss it for the world. So check out scientificwrestling.com and you'll see the dates up there, and hopefully I'll see you there. Take care.